Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. It's a pleasure to be here before you today. I am chairman of the Legislative Committee and board member for the Allegheny County Sportsman's League, the originating agency and organization for Pennsylvania's license to carry firearms provision in law. I'm also vice chairman of the Pennsylvania Sportsmen's Association as well, and I'm chairman of Firearm Owners Against Crime. In the interest of brevity, I'm not going to read my whole statement. It's before you now. And quite frankly, there were so many juicy comments here today, I don't think I could get to all of them by 5 o'clock. But I'd like to start off in an old-fashioned way. The right of the citizen to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. Lots of questions here today, because the real essence of the elements of this bill and the testimony we're hearing is an elimination of the presumption of innocence and taking away a person's right to defend themselves outside of the home. Because in this bill, I'm sure Representative Lentz will admit and agree to, it doesn't stop someone from having a firearm. And that's the crux of the issue that's different between us and other states. They will deny you if it's based on a conviction. Here in Pennsylvania, we're going to deny someone the ability to defend themselves based on an arrest. That's not what I swore an oath to office for when I went into the Marine Corps. I think that's wrong. I think it presumes on the moral high ground that a person that can still possess firearms can somehow be intimidated by not having an out-of-state permit and not committing a crime. And I reject categorically the inference by law enforcement here today that those 3,100 permit holders from Florida are by and large criminals that would be denied in Philadelphia. I think that's an insult. Not only that, I believe that it's wrong to make those allegations without supporting it, because those individuals don't have the ability to represent themselves here today. Many of those people vacation in Florida. Many of those people travel on business. And to put them in that position of being assigned the concept of being a criminal is just incomprehensible, to me anyway. And we talked about people being habitual drunkards. Well, let's apply the same standard to Title 75. You can't have a car and you can't drive based on a previous arrest. Not a conviction, mind you, just a simple arrest. How about holding office? Habitual drunkards, I don't want making public policy. I'm sure we can agree on that too. Let's make it the same thing. It does boil down to constitutional freedoms. So, I have to admit, I came here with my game face on, and Representative Shapiro's comment made me laugh about at least he knew where I stood. I've never been one that minced words. But the sportsmen and gun owners in this state believe strongly that this issue's been mischaracterized. Do we want criminals carrying without state permits? No. Do we want those freedoms to carry and defend themselves based on a conviction and not some sort of out of context assignation on the part of a law enforcement official? Let me give you an idea of what revocations are really like. And by the way, Philadelphia maintains almost 40% of all revocations in this state. They may approve 92%, but they yank the chain right back really quickly. Say that again, I'm sorry. They may approve 92% of carry permits, but they yank the chain back pretty quickly with almost 40% of all the revocations in this state. And that's not my statistics. That's right from the Pennsylvania State Police. I have them right here too. One of the gentlemen here today provided them to me. And there's a gentleman back here named Greg Rotz who went to vote. He was open carrying his handgun. That's legal. The Franklin County Sheriff decided it wasn't. Yanked his permit. We have hundreds of those. All of those people can't defend themselves now, their families? I think not. So let me put it to you basically this way. We will never ever agree to denying somebody a freedom based on an arrest, and we will never agree to destroy the presumption of innocence. Flat out. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you. And thank you for traveling all this way to be here today. So, on the issue of the permit to carry, do you believe that it is within our Constitution, you recited the state Constitution with regard to the right not being questioned, do you believe that it is consistent with the Pennsylvania Constitution and the U.S. and the Second Amendment that we regulate the carrying of concealed weapons?
No.
Okay, so just so, and I just want to know where we're starting the conversation. You don't think that law enforcement should control who can and cannot carry a concealed weapon?
Let me answer that in a two-part statement,
Sure.
and I promise to be short.
Not going to be like that lawyer that was here earlier.
No, sir. First of all, the right to carry a firearm is a right.
Yeah, I
in our
agree with that.
3 states now have no permit process whatsoever.
What other states? Just so.
Alaska, Vermont, and Arizona.
Okay.
Crime didn't skyrocket. The difference between them and us is they prosecute our criminals. And leading into
Well, the
that,
difference in Alaska is they don't have as many people as we do.
no, but they certainly prosecute the gun criminals.
Yeah.
I've done a fair amount of research on their court process. And in Philadelphia, it's abysmal.
So just so we're clear, because my interest is, and there's been a lot of description of the bill. We do have a bill, the first draft of this, and I know you've tracked it very closely, and I've tried to correspond with people as they've reached out to me. The first draft was pretty simple. It said, if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you have to have a Pennsylvania permit. And I know there was an objection to that for a variety of reasons. We then modified it to say, if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you have no issue with law enforcement and no problems, you can live in Pennsylvania and rely on an other state's permit. As you mentioned, some people are snowbirders, they live half the year in Florida, half the year in Pennsylvania. So we said, you can't rely on an out-of-state permit if you've had a PA permit revoked or denied, or otherwise ineligible. And the otherwise ineligible language I know was generally objected to. Would you be okay, under the existing law, given the fact that I understand you don't think that it should be regulated at all, you think that people, and I'm not disparaging that, I'm saying I want to make sure I characterize your belief correctly. You believe that under the Second Amendment, anybody that's not a convicted criminal should be able to tuck a pistol into their waistband and go out and walk out of their house without having to go through any application process?
I believe, I don't like the characterization, sir.
Okay.
I believe every Pennsylvania citizen has the right to choose self-defense.
And to carry a gun concealed on the
If
person?
necessary, yes.
Okay, and therefore we should not, the whole apparatus that we have set up where you have to go to your local sheriff, fill out an application, pay a fee, you think that, like these other states, Arizona and Alaska, we should get rid of that system and say, if you live in Pennsylvania and you want to carry a concealed gun and you're not a convicted criminal, you can do so?
Well, I've already answered that, but then let me ask
But I
you.
mean, is that what you think the law should be in PA?
Yes.
Okay,
And I'd like to ask you a question.
sure.
We have 126 pages of laws. At your press conference, I asked the Philadelphia police representative if they had used them against these people here, criminal conspiracy and others, that you mentioned in 6 instances out of 6 years as justification for this bill.
Right.
And he said no. So we have 126 pages of gun laws. What have they stopped? They haven't stopped anything in Philadelphia. And I want to show you something, since we're talking about this, because somehow the moral high ground has been established that if we enact one more law, it's going to lessen crime a little bit, and then we never go back to that. And I think that that's unethical and hypocritical. So I want to show you something right here. Here's a criminal record of someone who attacked an FOAC member on June 13th from Braddock, Anthony Nathaniel Bunny. He had a stick, he was standing in traffic. Came from Pittsburgh. This was in Irwin, a relatively safe area. He was driven into oncoming traffic, and the 2 responding officers in unmarked cars luckily were able to apprehend the guy. Firearms not to be carried without a license, repeatedly throughout his career. Null prost. That happens every day in Philadelphia.
Happens too much, I agree with you.
Police officers are dead because of it.
I agree with you. I was a
And-
prosecutor for 6 years, I saw any number, but I guess I want to get back to our conversation while we're here.
Okay.
If you don't believe in the permitting process, maybe I shouldn't ask you for input on how we can fix this permitting process, because I think your solution is get rid of the permitting process.
In the end, yes,
Okay.
but
Okay, so
keep
I'm-
in mind that we wrote the legislation.
Because
We
yeah,
believe that there are steps to take. And if you want to take steps and see how this is going to work, and you want to, and I think I discussed this with Representative Shapiro earlier, why aren't we fixing the issuance problems? Why aren't we how about, let me,
specific problems though, just.
the issuance, the denials are based on what? This character and reputation clause has got to go. The references under the law. Tell me where in the initial law you see a reason for two people to be able to be denied, or to deny a person a concealed carry permit. If you move up here from Florida, you don't have any references in a lot of cases. So what, you're not going to be able to defend yourself?
Well, we have back to defend yourself. If you're worried about being on the street and not having a gun to defend yourself, you can carry it openly, right?
You still have to have a permit everywhere you go because you,
But in most, well, let's take Philadelphia out of it. Am I right? I mean,
Why?
right.
I live there.
Sorry. Let's deal with one witness.
Sorry.
We deal with every other county in the state. If you want to, there's a gentleman in the audience now who has a weapon on his hip, visible for all to see. You don't need a permit to do that, do you?
yes, you do.
You need a
Because,
permit to
see,
carry or a
under
permit to own it.
Under Pennsylvania's transportation of firearms laws, you can carry a firearm openly as far as you can walk. The moment you get in a vehicle, you can only travel one of 4 places in this state.
The range.
The range and back, no stops. A dealer and back, no stops. A recreation home and back, no stops.
Okay.
And a gun turn-in point, and not these stupid gun buybacks
But if you
that
want to
don't
walk
work.
around, if you want to walk around your neighborhood, if you're concerned about it, you can have it on your hip, you don't need a permit, right?
That's correct. And then when you get stopped by a law enforcement officer, then you probably will have your firearm confiscated and have to get an attorney like John Mirowitz.
But you would prevail if you appealed that, because that's not a basis to revoke.
After $5,000 to $15,000.
No, that's Mirowitz's problem, not mine. I'm not-
No, that's the guy, actually, it's your problem, sir.
Yeah.
Because you're a policymaker. We should not be writing law that puts citizens in his place, because remember, you and I both
But now
swore an
you're-
oath
But
for
now you're
this.
talking about improving the permitting process.
That has to be done prior to this law passing, in our
Okay,
opinion.
and so I'm interested in that. I know there's been complaints about the fee not being uniform, about the.
We're in a county that charges $46, and that's violation, it's a summary offense.
So the fee, as I understand it, the time within which people, I think it's supposed to be 45 days, and some jurisdictions are not responding within 45 days. So if we
45
could-
calendar days.
So if we could fix the fee uniformity, if we could put some kind of penalty for not responding within 45 calendar days, what else would you, and now, I don't think we're ever gonna get agreement on getting rid of the character clause.
Why not?
Well, I just don't, I think that you're gonna.
Why do we keep it?
Well, you're gonna hear from sheriffs and law enforcement that they find it to be a useful tool in determining who can carry and who can't.
Well, we had a representative from the DA's office here that said he wanted the right to arrest the 3,100 carry permit holders.
Well, but.
Right. I mean,
Let
are
me
we
see
gonna
if
go
we
with
can
that?
agree- Let's see if we can agree on a few things. We can agree to maybe fix the fee, fix the 45-day thing. If we were to put those two things in the law,
And we have to remove the references as well.
what references to what?
Every license to carry a concealed
Required to have
firearm.
references.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say we did that. Let's say we did fix the fee, we did the 45 days, we took out the requirement that you have a reference. I wouldn't think it would be that hard to know 2 people in your neighborhood, but maybe I'm wrong. But let's say we took that out. If we did those 3 things, could you support legislation that said the following? If your Pennsylvania permit has been denied or revoked for a valid reason upheld by court, then Pennsylvania law enforcement does not have to recognize an out-of-state permit.
If they were convicted of an offense, yes.
Well, what if not convicted? Are there any valid reasons short of conviction in your mind?
No. Remember, you swore an
Let's say-
oath.
well,
The
let's say-
Constitution
Let
says
me
that.
give you an example and see if we can, in urban centers, witness intimidation
Mhm.
has become a major problem. I'm going to give you that oftentimes when you show a record like that,